Greetings, Guardians, True Vanguard here. You know, one major factor in winning Trials of Osiris matches is learning how to aggressively push and collapse on your enemy players, but doing so in a strategic manner. So we're going to offer you some tips and some advice on how to rack up these kills in Trials of Osiris, maybe even get some Wrecking Ball medals. But the point is, you want to be able to carry your momentum as you kill enemies and not give them time to recover. So we're going to offer you some advice on just how to do that. This is a good solid example of a time when we were aggressive about the way that we pushed. And here's how this plays out. First and foremost, one of my teammates gets sniped early in the round. So I know that at this point they're going to want to aggressively push us now that they have the advantage. So I want to deter that. Sure enough, he throws a grenade because he wants to push. So I go ahead and just throw a super right in that bottleneck, that doorway. I'm hoping it's going to get at least 2 people, but it doesn't. It only gets 1. So it gives my teammate time to pick up my teammate that went down. And so I'm going to push forward and try to deter the revive here. I don't want him to get that revive. So I throw a grenade, and then I strafe around the corner with my sights set, follow up the grenade with a body shot. Now at this point, it's late in the match, as you can see, 4-4. So this guy goes ahead and activates his Fireborn. So I have to bang off the revive in a pinch up at close quarters. And then at this point, I go ahead and set my sights at head level for the last guy, and then strafe around the corner because I know he's going to be in a bottleneck. And again, this guy self-revives in a tight bottleneck, so it makes sniping him not too difficult to do. You can see one shot wasn't enough to do it because he's wearing the Ram helmet, so I have to follow it up with a body shot, but then we're able to get the Wrecking Ball and go ahead and clear them all out and win the match. Now here's another example of a time where I had to kind of manage multiple targets at the same time, and I had to push strategically. So what happened here is my other 2 teammates went down, and so I ended up baiting these guys down into a tight bottleneck where I had the advantage. So here's the first guy. I managed to bait him into pushing me. So he's got the Thorn. I know I want to take him out fast, so I go ahead and get a body shot and then immediately switch to my primary weapon to finish him off. Now that the rest of them have come down and they're bunched up together, I know that an AoE is my best bet. So I go ahead and chuck a grenade right at the orb of the guy that's about to get revived, pull out my sniper rifle, and I know I'm probably just going to need a body shot to get the kill. So when you bait guys into bottlenecks like that, it gives you the opportunity to use supers and grenades to your advantage, and people can't really evade them in these tight spaces. So it's going to be able to give you an advantage if you've got your equipment cooled down, and especially if you're using a sniper rifle where you can get these quick kills and not have to worry about longer times to kill when you're getting pushed by multiple opponents. Now speaking of baiting opponents into bottlenecks, here's an example of a time where this Blade Dancer blinks in, and these guys are hard to hit out in the open, as you can see here. So I just tell my teammate right here at this moment, I'm telling him, can you bring this guy to the bridge? And so this is the bridge area up here. That's our call out for it. We call it bridge. And so I ask him to bait him up here. And I do that because in a bottleneck, these guys are a lot easier to hit. So I actually just hip fire and follow it up with a quick melee. And you see I got the precision damage on him. It was a headshot. So that's your best bet in those instances is try and lure them into these tight bottlenecks when you're going against people using arc blade, and that's going to give you the opportunity to hip fire with your shotgun or even your sniper rifle and have a better chance of actually hitting the opponent. So try and bait people into these bottlenecks to maximize your chances of coming out on top in these firefights. Another major factor in winning these matches and carrying your momentum is learning how to collapse on your enemy players as you communicate with your teammates as to who's hurt and who's where. So this particular round was a good example of doing just that, where none of the guys that I killed was it me going straight up one-on-one with somebody in a firefight. We won without me having to take much damage at all. And so how this played out was, at this point, I come into the middle at the beginning of the round where you can see my teammate Rusty off to the right. He calls out top middle that he's being chased. So this is an easy kill. All I have to do is gun a guy down from the back, and he's not facing me. Easy to do. At this point, I could go one-on-one with this guy in a firefight, but he's got me primed with a sniper rifle. I know I don't want to stick that engagement out at all. So instead, I double around to the right with my teammate, because we have one guy down. Now he's trading shots with a guy back here, so he calls out that he's going to take cover, but that the enemy is primed. So I push ahead. All I have to do is get a body shot. And then later, after I pick up the special ammo, he calls out that the last guy has no health at all, so I know to go ahead and push. So it was actually a relatively easy round. All I had to do was mop up kills. Didn't really have to do any straight up gunfights in order to get a Wrecking Ball medal and win the round. Another important thing to do in Trials of Osiris is learn where players go first. What are their habits? What's the most common route to take for the enemy team? So this was just an example of getting my sights set early in a spot where players tend to congregate initially in the round. So they come up top here pretty frequently on this map, and we've played it a few times now, so we've had some experience on this map. We know how players tend to move around the map. And on Burning Shrine, sometimes that just means looking straight across through these rotating doors to get a quick kill early in the match. And then you can push ahead and with your teammates collapse on the remaining opponents. So learning those tendencies, those patterns, these highly trafficked areas can help you know kind of where to set your sights and when. So here's another example of a different round where again I get a guy sniped right off that top opening where they tend to come out initially in the rounds. And so the rest of it is just coordinating well with my teammate and pushing at the right times. I know he's sniping over my shoulder. It gives me the opportunity to come and flank while he's got the aggro. Now, unfortunately, things aren't always going to go your way. And sometimes you're going to find yourself in this situation where you're last man standing and you got to make a play. So what I tend to do is mobility is your best asset at this point. So I'm going to run around the map, bait a guy, grab some special ammo, and try and pick off one guy. Now notice that engagement failed. I got to the point where I said, you know what, let's just reset. Let's try it again. I move on to the next special ammo box. I set my sights where I think he's going to be. And when he comes out of that bottleneck, it makes for some easy pickings if you already have your sights set. And that works on, your primary as well. I tend to like sniper rifles because of the low time to kill. It's a high risk, high reward weapon. If you make your shot, then they're going to go down fast and you can move on to the next engagement. Now here's another example of a time where I'm last man standing, but I'm going to make this into my advantage because they're bunched up in the same choke point, which means that multi-kills with sniper rifles are pretty easy when people are bunched up in bottlenecks and choke points. So I'm able to wipe all three of them with headshots. Now, enemy orb control is also really important. Now, here's an instance of a time where I got a guy down, and his orb is out in the open, and that is really ideal. You want the orb either out in the open or in a choke point, where you can sort of control the orb well. Now, at this point, we think we've got it in the bag because we got two orbs down in the same spot. All we have to do is control them. Now, the final player on the enemy team does a really smart play. He throws a grenade, and it causes us to back off of those orbs and run from the Axion Bolt Seeker. So we have to run away and then just sort of get control of these choke points again. Luckily, we were able to recover. But here's another instance of a time where I get this enemy down out in the open, and like moths to a flame, they're going to want to go for the revive. So this guy comes running back over to revive his teammate, and if you land your shots in time, it makes for some easy kills as you bait guys into these orbs. So I hope that these tips have been helpful for you guys. Remember to bait guys into bottlenecks, take advantage of your equipment, your supers. When guys are bunched up in tight spaces where it's hard for them to avoid, go ahead and practice sniping Sunsingers off the revive. That's going to be a hugely beneficial skill to have in your repertoire as you play in Trials of Osiris. This has been True Vanguard with Planet Destiny. You have a good one.